going to start this video by talking about maths. Probably not what you thought I was going to talk about, but I'm going to just talk about how you go through the process of learning maths. So the first thing that you learn when you're learning maths is you learn counting. You know how to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and like when you've got a little kid, you're like, well done, can you count all the way up to 10? And they get the numbers in the right order. If you can't count, you can't do maths. So you need to make sure that you've learned counting before you even started to learn anything else. Next, addition and subtraction. So as you get a little bit better, you start going up the stages and start learning something a little bit more complicated. So I've written all of these things down. We're starting with counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus and minus, adding and subtracting, multiplication and division, which is a little bit more complicated, powers and roots. You're starting to learn trigonometry, and then you want to start doing calculus. As you get better, you're going to be ascending up through these levels, starting with your foundation of being able to count, and then making it more complicated and more specific as you go up. What you don't do first when you're learning to do maths is go do calculus first. You start with counting, make sure you've got counting down, and as you get better, start to be able to handle more and more complicated things. You start going up, start with the foundation, and you're like building on top of that. Think about it almost like a pyramid. Imagine this whole thing is a big triangular pyramid, and we're building on top. So in the same way, there is a hierarchy to your time and energy and attention, and you can't spend your concentration and effort on all of these things. You have to choose what you're going to work on first and go through it step by step. There's things that are more important to get right at the very bottom, and there's things that are just less important, and most people don't even use these things at the top. Ideally, you'd have a full understanding of all of this stuff. You'd be like super maths genius and just intuitively understand all of this stuff. And there are people like that. There are people that should do that, and they're like pro at maths. And it's the same with dieting. There are people who are pro at all of the parts of dieting, but not everyone needs to do calculus levels. Most people should be able to count. Most people should be able to multiply and divide. But once you start getting harder and harder, you can defer to those pros if you really, really need to do it. But most people just need to be able to do the basic stuff. So we're going to create a dieting pyramid. And a dieting pyramid works the same way. The foundation's at the bottom, and as we get better and better, we're going to go up and up and higher up that pyramid. Cool. So I've drawn a nice, much more even looking pyramid there, and we're going to fill it in. The pyramid has 5 levels, and we're going to go up the levels. So we're going to start with a base of understanding calories. You've heard about calories before. That's the foundation. That's like counting. Then we've got macros, micros, frequency, or just timing, and supplements. Supplements is like your trigonometry, calculus level dieting. The pyramid helps you to know what strategies to focus on first, what you can do right now, what's going to be the easiest thing. And this pyramid starts with the most necessary components at the bottom and the least necessary components at the top. Just like with the maths one, it's very necessary in your life to be able to count, but it's not very necessary in your life to be able to do calculus. It's the exact same thing. It's necessary to know and understand what you're doing with your calories, and it's much less necessary in your life to know what to do with supplements. So what do you think about when you think about dieting? Probably not a lot of good things, right? Almost like diet is a bad word. Going on a diet isn't exactly known for being a fun experience. Dieting isn't just eating, right? For a lot of people, dieting is punishment, dissatisfaction, restriction, difficulty, struggle, and forcing yourself to do something unpleasant that you hate doing, eating nothing but broccoli all the time, just so that you can look how other people want you to look. And that doesn't sound like much fun to me. So it's no wonder we think that going on a diet is a bad word. I'm not here to make you eat broccoli all the time. I want you to enjoy your food, not hate it. Do you enjoy eating? I really enjoy eating. I love eating. Eating's a lot of fun. So I don't want you to feel guilty about eating, especially about eating food that's meant to be fun and pleasurable. I want you to enjoy your food. So the reason that diet is a bad word is because going on a diet is an admission that you've not been in control of what you're eating, and you need to get that control back. But don't feel guilty about that. It's not a big deal. And it's not a problem that's unique to you. And it's easy enough to fix if you understand how it works. So I don't want to punish you for eating things that you enjoy. And I don't want to emotionally blackmail you into buying some miracle product that will turn you into a swimsuit model overnight. I want to help you learn how to have control of the food that you eat so that you can enjoy it even more. You already know what a healthy diet looks like. 1, drink plenty of water. 2, eat lots of vegetables and little of sugary or fatty foods like junk food. And 3, don't eat too much overall. And then exercise and sleep enough. If you're doing that, you're going to be healthy. You're going to have a healthy diet. You don't need a book. You don't need an expert. You don't need somebody important to tell you all of this stuff. Like, you know this stuff intuitively. But if the only time that you eat like this is when you're on a diet, and a diet is like this bad, guilty struggle, and you can only enjoy your food when you're not in control, when you're not doing this, you're never going to have control of the food that you eat. And you're setting yourself up for a lifetime of that feeling guilty, feeling regretful, and just struggling. So I want to make dieting and having a healthy diet easy for you. And so that's what this is all about. So every diet that actually works is based on a very simple 2-step process. Step 1, make a plan. Making a plan is pretty easy. Step 2 is stick to it, which is a little bit harder. But here's what people don't do when they're making a plan. And this is the really important thing to get right as step 1. Step 1 of making a plan that actually works for you is to start with what you already eat. Your usual normal eating pattern is what we will use for the basic framework of your diet plan. Most plans you'll find online in dieting books don't do this, but it's really important that you do this if you want to diet in a way that is easy and works for you. So you've got to figure out what your normal routine is, writing down your normal pattern of eating. And if you don't have a normal pattern of eating, if you don't have a routine, you need to add in another step before step 1, and that's step 0. Step 0 is to have a routine. And if you want to learn a bit more about how to set up that routine and what a good routine looks like, I've got a program called Step 0, which goes into all of the things so that you can slot that into how your body works. So if you haven't got a routine yet, that's step 0 before you even start doing any of this. Have like a regular pattern of eating. But then we're going to write that whole thing down, and that's how we're going to start making a plan. The diet is about making changes to your routine, and you're just trying to record what you're already eating. As you get more pro and you get more into it, you can start moving up this pyramid. We're going to start with the simple stuff. This is the stuff that basically everyone should know how to do. So, calories. Calories is how we measure the amount of energy that's in the food. But we're never going to get this super accurate. There are ballpark amounts like written on the sides of the packaging. It's just there to give you a general idea. You can have your Apple Watch and all that kind of stuff, but you're not going to be able to accurately count those numbers. Those numbers are very precise, like it's 136, right? But they're not accurate. When it says 136, it might be 142, it might be 128. Don't get too bogged down with the specific numbers of calories. We're talking ballpark. So at the base of our pyramid is calories. And that is the foundation. You don't want to be eating more energy than you need, and you don't want to be eating less energy than you need, unless you're trying to get a specific result out of the changing of the calories that you're eating. To gain weight, you want to be taking in just a little bit more energy, a little bit. When you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to have a little bit less. And what that corresponds to is a bit more food and a bit less food. And it is as simple as that. And there's different ways of being able to get more food and less food, but that's what it fundamentally comes down to. So what I want you to do is look at your written down weekly routine of eating, what you normally eat. And if you want to gain weight, I want you to look at that normal week of eating, and this is how we're going to make a plan. I want you to take that amount of food that you've got, add just a little bit more to every single day. Maybe not even every single day, every other day. But as long as you're eating more than you usually eat, that's how you're going to be able to gain weight. Now, for losing weight, it's the exact same thing in the opposite direction. We're just going to take away a little bit of the food. I don't want you to change anything about the food. Don't worry about, if this or that food's a superfood, or if you should have fruit, or, we're not worried about all of that stuff. We're worried about just the amount. We're going to take what you normally eat, and I want you to just take out a couple of things. And if you're doing that consistently, that's how you're going to lose weight. Every plan starts with your normal, and we're going to change around the calories by just adding or taking away a little bit of the food that you normally eat. And that requires no calorie counting, no special watch, none of those sort of slightly deceiving numbers. It's literally just look at how much that you normally do and do slightly more or slightly less than that, or try and maintain it week on week if we're just trying to maintain our health and maintain our weight. And that's the fundamental thing. That's what you've got to get right. Everything else is detail. Everything else is trying to make that a little bit more complicated. So once you've got the right amount of food, that's our fundamental foundation of our diet, we can start to worry about macros. Macros are macronutrients. These are the three big nutrients the body gets energy from. I'm going to write those down. Protein, carbohydrates, fats. And you need to get a balance of these three nutrients. So a balanced diet isn't I ate a salad and then I ate a pizza, so I've got balance of stuff I enjoy and stuff I hate. A balanced diet is a balance of these three nutrients: carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. You need a healthy supply of protein for your muscles and processes in your body, a steady supply of fats, because fats are involved in creating hormones and being able to transport nutrients around your body. You need just enough carbohydrate to give you the energy you need. Just enough though, and usually it's not that much. And generally, if your calories are right, remember that's the fundamental thing, and most of your meals are like mixed meals containing meat and vegetables, stuff that you can recognize, plants and animals. Your balance of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats is probably going to be pretty good. So what I want you to do is take your diary of your normal weekly food. We've already just added a little bit or taken a little bit away, or made sure it's the same week on week, depending on whether we want to lose, gain, or maintain our weight. And we're just going to check if your average lunch and dinner is mostly meat and vegetables. Look at your meals on your weekly plan. Maybe you want to change a couple of those meals. Let's say one of those meals is like a cheese pizza. Maybe either add something or swap that for something, and that's going to help you to get a balanced diet of protein, carbohydrates, and fats. But don't do that until you've already figured out your fundamentals, which is your calories. Calories is the amount of energy you're taking in. Don't worry about the numbers. Just have a little bit more than you normally do, or a little bit less than you normally do, and do that consistently. Macros, the way we make all of that a little bit easier is green face meals. Vegetables, meat, something green, something with a face. It's pretty easy to follow and base it on what you normally do. So we're starting to get more complicated now. We're starting to get into higher level maths. Most people actually get by fine with the first two levels. You might not need to even consider these levels that we're talking about, because I want to make it easy for you. But if you want to get a little bit more complicated, we're going to start making use of these micronutrients and timing principles as well. So let's get into that. Micronutrients are vitamins and minerals. Vitamins like vitamin B12, vitamin E, vitamin K, and minerals, iron, sodium, magnesium. And your body should be taking in a lot of different micronutrients in small amounts, like very small amounts relative to the macronutrients. That's why they're micro instead of macro. So you want a variety of these things. And you don't have to get all of them in a single day. You certainly don't have to get them all in a single meal, but you want to try and get them across the week. So don't just eat broccoli and don't just eat green peppers. Eat broccoli sometimes and green peppers other times. It's pretty much as simple as that. Like, you don't need a huge wide range of things, but you just don't need to be eating the exact same thing all the time. And we have guidelines in the UK about having 5 portions of fruit and veg a day, partly to get you to eat more vegetables, but it's also to get you to eat more variety of fruits and vegetables. The point isn't just that you're eating more, it's that you're eating more types and getting in all of those good micronutrients, vitamins and minerals. But also make sure you concentrate first on getting a balanced diet, proteins, carbs and fats with your green face meals, and eating a little bit more if you're trying to gain weight, or a little bit less if you're trying to lose weight. And if you're doing that, you shouldn't need to worry too much about having a deficiency in this or that vitamin. Micronutrients is actually very easy to get right. And if you do feel like you might have a deficiency in a vitamin, or if you do feel like you're not getting all of the micronutrients you need, you want to be talking to a doctor or a dietitian, and they will be able to give you much more guidance about that kind of thing. But first, make sure that you've covered all your bases by eating a variety of fruit and vegetables throughout the week. Eat 6 meals a day, eat 3 meals a day. Don't eat carbs after 6 p.m. Don't eat carbs before lunch. Get your protein in right after the workout. Don't drink and eat at the same time. These are pretty ridiculous actually, because the amount of effect that they have is so small and they're so specific to the person. Trying to follow it like a rule is a really bad idea. None of them matter. none of them matter nearly as much as getting your calories, getting your macros right, getting a balanced diet, getting your green-faced meals in, also getting a variety. Don't just eat the same things every single day. Then, once you know you're already doing this, then you want to start maybe worrying about your timing. As a regular person, a normal general population person, the timing has to work for you. And this will take some experimentation and attention. You don't want to just be blindly following some rules because someone somewhere said. And getting your timing perfect on so that the digestion's just right and all that kind of stuff, you don't need to be concentrating on all of that stuff. Make it easy for yourself. This is easy dieting. You already know what timing of food works for you. You already know how often you're likely to eat, what kinds of foods you're going to want to eat, the context of those kinds of things. Use that as your basis. You want to build your diet around your life. You don't want to build your life around your diet. So we've covered calories, macros, micros, and timing. And in the next one, last one, we're going to talk about supplements. But remember, get the foundation right first. And you might not even need to worry too much about timing and macros. If you want to know more about dieting, I've got a course, it's called Everyday Eating. We go into a lot more depth about exactly what a calorie is, exactly how to get more protein in. But it's all sort of through the lens of actually cooking and preparing healthy food for yourself. And it's about doing this every day, making it an everyday thing that you do so that your everyday diet is a healthy one. And then at the very end, we're going to talk about how to manipulate that and work with that to make it more specifically results oriented. You have a healthy everyday diet, it makes it much, much easier, like so much easier to actually get results out of the way that you eat. Most people go from not having a healthy diet at all to suddenly trying to go on a diet. And that's why we have that negative association that we spoke about at the very beginning. Getting a healthy everyday diet allows you to have more control. And then when you want to do something a little bit more complicated, a little bit more temporary, a little bit more stressful with your diet, you've actually got a very good foundation to work from because your regular preparation and eating of food is healthy to begin with and doesn't get you worse over time, but keeps you healthy over time. So if you're interested in that, take a look at the Everyday Eating course. Anyway, we've gone through the dieting pyramid. We've spoken about calories, macros, micros, timing, and we're going to do a little bit of a whistle-stop tour of supplements. Remember, supplements is like calculus level stuff. I want you to really be concentrating on getting your calories right, and the way that you do that is you take what you normally eat, add a little bit, and take a little bit. And step 0 before that is have some regularity to what you're eating. But for the sake of completeness, and so that we've gone through this entire pyramid to make it easy for you to understand, I'm just going to talk about a few specific supplements. If you're taking any nutritional supplement that haven't been prescribed to you by a medical professional, and you haven't first made sure that you've got the right portions of a balanced diet with a good variety at timings that work for you, that fit your life, you should probably stop taking those supplements. Reassess your priorities. Are the supplements really necessary? Supplements can be great, but if you're trying to stick to a diet and you haven't got all of the other stuff, that is where your focus should be first, not in fancy chemicals, special powders and pills. Don't overcomplicate things. Less is more. Only worry about these little things that you sprinkle on top at the very end. The thing that you've got to remember about supplements is that they're supplemental. They supplement something. And what they supplement is a healthy diet. A healthy diet, we spoke at the very beginning, drink lots of water, eat lots of vegetables, fewer sugary and fatty foods, and don't eat too much. Eat just the right amount. You already know what that looks like. And if you're doing that, supplements 9 times out of 10 are not going to be something that you need. You don't need to paint the walls of a house that's falling down. It's not actually going to fix the problem. Supplements can be good. Maybe it isn't convenient for you all the time to be eating real food. Maybe you do have some deficiencies which are caused by lifestyle things or medical problems. Maybe you have a particular performance goal that real food can't support. You need to make an assessment of your need before you start taking in chemicals. So I'm going to talk about some supplements that you might actually want to take based on these particular needs. Convenience, deficiency, performance. Convenience first. It's not always easy to eat, especially if you're on the go all the time or if you're full already and you still need food. It might not be convenient for you to get a proper meal or even a snack. Some places where people work, you might not be able to eat while you're there. Like you might be allowed to drink, but not eat. You can use some supplements to get around this. Meat and other high protein foods can be expensive and difficult to eat through the day without feeling constantly full. Protein powders are a perfectly valid way to supplement the protein you might not be able to get in from real high protein foods like meat. And a sweet, nice protein shake that tastes a bit like chocolate or strawberries or whatever is a good way to dampen sweet cravings. And I'd often rather be drinking a shake after a workout than trying to eat a cold chicken breast out of my bag. And also the flavors are they're strawberry and chocolate, but with the protein flavors, they won't taste like a McDonald's milkshake, but it will taste a darn sight better than trying to munch your way through cold steak through the middle of the day. Okay, deficiencies. Everybody's body is slightly different. No one's a perfect clone of somebody else. And so the same foods aren't always going to work in the exact same way in every person's body. As well as this, we live in a world that doesn't always allow us to give our bodies what it needs. And as a result, we can find ourselves deficient in some of the chemicals, those vitamins and minerals, those micronutrients. Supplements can help with that. Vitamin D. Vitamin D is created in our skin when sunlight hits a chemical called dehydrocholesterol, and that comes ready-made in like milk, and we can make it ourselves out of other food, but it needs the sunlight. And most people don't spend that much time outdoors in real sunlight, especially in the UK where the sun isn't amazing. Most of the year we have an 11-month rainy season. And so vitamin D3 supplement is a great way of getting over the fact that we don't get much sunlight. You want to be taking that especially when the days are short in the winter, but throughout the year, vitamin D is great if you don't spend a lot of time out in the sun. You don't need an infinite amount of vitamin D, just take enough to make up for the fact that you're not out in the sun. And finally, performance enhancing supplement. And I'm not talking about the performance enhancing supplements you're thinking. Most people don't need to perform at a competitive level. You're not an Olympic athlete, you're not a pro weightlifter, you're not a competitive bodybuilder. If you are, by the way, you need coaching that's specific and focused around your specific performance goals. And you want to score the most points in your chosen field. That has very little to do with your long-term physical health. And you might sacrifice your long-term physical health in order to score more points. Those performance-enhancing things are not about health. They're about scoring points. But when performance is that goal, supplements start taking on a different role and start taking you beyond what that real food can do on its own. But think very carefully about whether you're here to just score points for its own sake, or if long-term health is your top priority. If health is your top priority, you don't need pre-workout supplements that overstimulate your nervous system. You don't need creatine that allows you to kind of push big weights for longer and really pump up your muscles. But if you do want some of those things, you might want to try some of those and see if they make a difference. But I cannot stress this enough. Get everything you need from food first. Eat real food and get what you need from there. If you're not eating right, supplements won't fix a bad diet. Like I said, it's like painting a house that's falling down. Supplements are supplemental, and what they supplement is a good, healthy diet. Your calories, then your macros, then your micros, then your timing, and then maybe you want to be thinking about these supplements. So remember, this is your dieting pyramid. You start with the really fundamental things, and most people only need to worry about the first couple of rungs of this pyramid. And as you get more knowledgeable, as you get more pro, you're going to work up and maybe start using some of these higher level strategies. This is how you know what to do first. You make your plan and then you stick to it. And the plan that you've made is based on what you already do. We're going to add or take away a little bit of food based on whether we want to gain or lose weight. To get our macros right, we eat a green face diet, and that means taking your lunch and your dinner. It has something green and something with a face. Micros, vitamins and minerals, variety across the week. Timing, build our diet around our life. And then finally, maybe add some supplements if you have needs about convenience, deficiencies, or about performance. Nutrition and dieting is not an exact science. You're figuring this out a lot as you go along. Don't get too bogged down in all of these details. You're not looking at the specific numbers. You're just making it healthy and you're making tweaks as you go along. Keep checking what you're doing. Keep making sure it's working along the way. Don't make it too hard for yourself. Make it easy.